Hey, what's up, Maki? Annabelle. Hey, Bruce. Yeah, we're just gonna dive right into it here. It'll be great. I think it'll make sense once we get rolling. What's up, Gravitol? Okay, let's do that. And there I am. There we go. When I say scratch, I mean scratch. I mean creating a page going. Hey, Construct. I know. Don't worry. Don't be scared. There'll be more of that later. There's always time for playing more blueprints. So, background. I have a unique opportunity. Hi, Bruce. Hi, Gravitol. Nice beard. Thank you. I have a unique opportunity to run what I'm considering sort of a micro campaign. So I run 2 campaigns weekly, and each of them has been running for 4+ years. So you could say that I don't necessarily, my wheelhouse is long campaigns. But one of those campaigns now is taking a bit of a summer break, giving me an interesting gap of maybe 5 or 6 weeks. Miniseries, yeah. What does a campaign look like as a miniseries? 5 to 6 episodes. Almost a prelude to a larger campaign. I have wanted to do, which is why I have my inspiration here, my boat, a ship. It's gonna drop my foam ship on the table here. I've wanted to do a seafaring campaign for a long time, and I don't know how long it will be, but I'm curious to try to create something, an interesting arc that's a prelude to a larger story that maybe is only 5 or 6 sessions long. Seafaring campaign, like I said, name TBD. Four players. There. Now I've posted the particulars in chat. Now the stream's official. Total beach demons. And actually right here, so if I this is one look at my campaign world. So if I get rid of a couple things there. So that is kind of the western half of my map. It goes on just about as big to the right. And what I do, my approach to my campaign map has been I basically add to it, I hand draw it. I add to it when I have a game to go alongside it. So my first campaign here is based in Illyria. So this is this whole continent there to the left. I did at one point run a 2-player campaign and created this kind of region called Volar. And then there's a much larger area called Mira there to the right. But I have this kind of huge, obviously huge, big empty space. And at least some of this, I think, should be sort of like the Great Northern Sea of some sort. And I'm not going to necessarily draw that map right now. I don't even know if I'm going to necessarily draw it for this sort of mini series campaign. I could. But that's where my mind is set. Ship-based, visiting islands. And what I kind of want to do with a couple of streams, I don't know how many streams I'm going to spend doing this. I mean, like I said, the gap of time that I have isn't that big, but I figured it might be fun, since I've never had this opportunity when I was also streaming, to capture the process. I don't have a set process. This is probably going to meander a lot. And we'll just see where it goes, and hopefully it'll be helpful material for other people down the line. So so the first place that my mind goes to is like, what does a seafaring, what does a campaign set on the water mean to me, to everybody? Like, what comes to mind, right? And in some cases, it's like ship management, life on a ship. I think of treasure seeking, maps, and I think of adventuring to far off islands first to visit. I don't know yet, Construct. That's part of, I think that's part of the interesting I will say I do have, let's call it potential big ideas. I do have one that I've been thinking about for the past week-ish. And that idea is yeah, thanks, Construct. That's true. It's really just sort of group kind of brainstorming and writing, and I'll sort of guide it and craft it along. So in this case, potential big ideas for this sort of micro campaign. Is it possible in only 6 sessions to create a compelling moral challenge to the party that is more than surface level, more than sort of skin deep? For instance, while sent on a mission by their loyal captain, might the party come to view the locals of an island differently and choose a path, maybe at the end of this sort of series, that might put them at odds with their shipmates. Ashley, you gotta go. You can't be here. I don't know. YouTube's doing something, and I don't know I don't know why. Yeah, I'm shocked you would even try to hang out here, Ashley. Ashley's one of the players in this. That would be a bad idea. Find the 4 or 5 shards of a sacred flute. I think that, yeah, as far as inspiration goes, treasure seeking. In other words, find MacGuffins. MacGuffins. I think that could very easily chart 5 or 6 sessions around that. As far as adventuring ship management, I've mentioned this before, but like Star Trek, when I think of a ship-based kind of exploration type of campaign, I think of Star Trek. That sort of vibe, right, of managing the crew, dealing with issues on ship, also from place to place, keeping things fresh every week. I think part of the reason too that one of my big ideas is like, could there be a compelling moral choice that comes to the party in just a few sessions? Part of the reason for that is that when I think about the nature of a maybe a slightly longer, I'm not sure if it would be multi-year campaign, but of going from island to island, it feels like if there was almost like the balance of the sea, right? Like if there were factions, if there were even sort of gods at war kind of amongst the sea, and the decisions that a party made were sort of changing in real meaningful ways the power dynamics of that, I feel like could be really interesting. Communications, ops, science, tactical, etc. Yeah. Departments, roles, obviously using more ship technology, but it doesn't mean that it has to be, I mean, it's fantasy at the end of the day. It's probably leaning more fantasy than sci-fi, but I think like magical elements certainly could be a part of it. That could even help define and make a unique ship, right? If it's almost like it's the fastest ship because it's driven by some sort of a crystal in its hull or something like that. like I said, I'll be bouncing around a lot, but line of a mic is a mini series campaign. Maybe that is the right terminology to use. The era, steampunk or medieval. I think I'd say that my world tends to be more medieval. I mean, honestly, it really depends which part of my world that you're in. I'm not super strict. Whatever kind of services the story. I have some cities and towns that are more advanced than others, but generally speaking, it's more of like a medieval fantasy world is the sort of the baseline. So in this case, a session 0 to sort of establish, like everybody's off creating characters. I don't necessarily know what the party's making yet. We haven't really brought these ideas together yet. So I kind of want to do a play test session 0 where we have a chance to kind of hear about each other's characters. I really like putting the challenge to the party of they decide as a group what unites them. Is that they are lifelong friends? Did they come from the same hometown? Are they family? Are they all just under contract, but they're loyal to whatever? Like, however do they have a mission above and beyond what happens in the game? Maybe their mission becomes actually what motivates the campaign. I like to let the party determine that. Sure, there are high-tech Higgs boson-powered floating cities off in one of those undrawn areas. Could be. Higgs boson. Why not? Yeah, I try not to count anything out. For sure. I also don't know level. Pretty low level though, for something like this. This would be really trying to amp up and more kind of carve out the initial couple of arcs. Like, so when I start looking at, okay, let's say there's 6 sessions. That feels like probably maybe it's like a 4-session arc. And then the what's the that's one option. I could also see it as like sessions 1 through 3 are like the first arc, and sessions 4, 5, 6 are another arc. Could also view them as more like episodic. Each session is sort of self-contained. So the structure is flexible. I also don't know. The last couple of campaigns that I've run, the last few actually, have all had prologue sessions. Do I do that this time? I don't know. It's a shorter campaign. I'm not sure that should matter. I still think that they're really useful. prologue session is basically a one-on-one session that I run with each player for their character and basically getting them into the world. I think I could make it, even though it seems like, well, if it's only going to be 6 sessions, what's the point? But maybe it's all the more important. Maybe it's more important than ever to have that time. But session 0 would still have to come first. Like I said, I would have a test combat. Also because session 0 sometimes feels like we've not accomplished anything if you don't get to roll some dice and kill some things, even if it is effectively like it's just sort of a black box, almost like what's the X-Men, the combat room type of scenario. Hey Gibson. No, I have a unique opportunity where one of my campaigns is taking a bit of a summer break, so maybe like 6 weeks, just due to people's schedules and stuff like that. So, with a slightly different group, there's an opportunity to try what I've been talking about for a while now, which is like, well, once my campaigns finish up, once they, once I have the time, I want to try doing smaller campaigns. I want to try doing, something smaller than multi-year type of stuff. So this would be a test of those waters. This would be almost like a mini series or a prelude to what I think is a larger story, almost like a one shot that's really 6 sessions long. I was sort of thinking through all of that. Seafaring campaign, 4 players, ship-based, visiting islands. Let's see. What do I not want? I don't want to develop intense or develop complex systems for a mini-series. So in other words, like ship management, full crew, complete map, stuff like that. Yeah, I like that, Bruce. I like using definitely an NPC guide. It can be useful. Can be a previous character too. Yeah, like somebody that they know or somebody that they played. I'm sure this will have some ties to stuff in my campaigns, but or other characters and stuff. That'll come. I think that'll get layered in probably. Yeah. Inspiration. When I think of prologue sessions, it's almost like the beginning of Titanic. How did Jack end up on the Leo DiCaprio's Jack won a poker game and then had to rush his way to get to the ship, right? makes sense the first session to be a taste of the ship life without, like I said, I don't want to make a whole system. I feel like everything here has to take place on an island. I think it has to be an island exploration. So part of the reason I think that I'm in terms of big ideas, so is it possible? Let's see, potential big ideas. I mean, mini-series big ideas, but big ideas. I just played through The Last of Us 1 and 2. And what I thought was really interesting about the story, at least, I mean, you don't really have a decision to make in a game like that. You're playing through a predetermined story and just sort of experiencing it. But the challenge of The Last of Us 2 and the dynamics of these different kind of social groups working against each other, you know, this survivor faction in a town versus this sort of more militant group and sort of their motivations versus this sort of more religious, almost like monk-like society and what they're trying to do. You just kind of throw these forces against one another, and depending on which perspective you have, different people feel like the heroes or the villains or the antagonists. You empathize with them differently. And so when I think of like a moral challenge in D&D, now I'm thinking, okay, well, you know, factions, you know, a loyal, fatherly, trustworthy captain running a tight ship. Probably with a spotty past, right? That's a faction. Then you could also have, you know, island. Let's call them island dwellers. That would either be, I mean, that either pose a threat or conceal or they what would they would have or pose a threat or hold a resource, magic, treasure. But then there would have to be some sort of third faction that casts the other groups in a different light, right? If you have the you know, if you have a militant group that is against any outsiders, right? Like maybe they are hostile against any outsiders, any visitors. That's another source of inspiration for me when I think about sea-based or island-based games. I'm a huge fan of Lost. Huge defender of it also. Fight me. I'll defend Lost. I think it's one of the most amazing shows ever made. The concept in Lost one of my favorite concepts in Lost is this phrase of the others. Without getting too far into the lore of Lost, when our survivors crash land on the island, they start to hear voices in the jungle. They start to see other people, and they just label them the others, right? And that happens in the first season. The others. They don't have any other name for them. They don't know who they are. The others. That's what they label them as. And one of the fascinating things to sort of study throughout the 6 seasons of that show is who becomes the others as the story progresses and as they learn. Because at different points, it's other survivors from their own group. It's factions because they become more entwined with the local inhabitants of the island. Like, others is just the word and the label that you give to basically people you don't understand to effectively other them. Like, it's kind of, it's a little bit maybe obvious, but it's still fun to watch it play out and how the dynamic changes. Hey, Billy Goat. Me too. Lindelof does some cool stuff. Construct a group of zealots paid for passage to the island to look for a religious symbol or artifact. That's an interesting idea too, like almost like an escort mission, right? Like you're doing a job for someone, maybe, or maybe the ship has been hired by. The moral challenge could be hidden. Could be. Well, let's separate it. Maybe. Oh, cool, Sebastian. Yeah, it's been a minute. I haven't. I need to start doing these weekly again. It could also be about. I think that you cannot face value a moral quandary. You can't make that the point. But you can make it sort of the undertones of an arc, or the undertones of missions. And it does feel like tracking down something hidden or taking a job to find some treasure is probably a good place to start. Or at least that's one of those tropes that makes a lot of sense. So maybe hired by. One thing I really like about this, and this is pulling inspiration from the Blueprints streams that I've been doing lately. Any sort of or also you could, it's like the Nathan Drake type of thing, like a treasure item, like an artifact of some sort gives you a chance to imbue with it all sorts of lore, all sorts of mystery. Okay. When I think about developing a moral question, system-wise, will I jump to 2024 rules? I guess I could. I'm not sure. Not sure how much it even affects. I mean, the point of running smaller games is certainly to try different systems, but I think that I'll probably change the minimum. 2014 or 2024, I don't think I have strong feelings. Maybe it's something that I'll sort out during session 0 with this group and see which one they prefer. I don't think either one would shake me up that much. Or I don't think that moving to 2024 would shake me up that much, but I do think I probably will stick to 5e for this because it's a pretty dramatic, it's a pretty big change for me to try to like craft something that will work in a handful of sessions. And if once I feel confident doing that and like, okay, that worked, then the next time maybe I would try it again, but also throw in a different structure. A living MacGuffin. How could you construct? Well, I do intend to. I do intend to try different things. It's definitely my goal to use these smaller campaigns to really give other games a shot. So if we started with, if we think about the layers, how do we bring the party to a challenging decision? Then the first layer that we establish as clearly true is that the ship is a sort of family. There's no duplicitous, like these people have been through and through. The captain can fully be trusted. Everybody, things are equitable. Like this is a little utopia on this ship. These are not cutthroat pirates looking to turncoat on one another as far as the party can tell. And this becomes establishing sort of their little micro world in that first session or in the introduction somehow, that this is a legit operation. The second thing they need to be hit with is that whatever island they're going to, because I think all of this is going to take place on one island, because then I don't have to make a big seafaring map. Just make one island map. The island's inhabitants are hostile to outsiders. To outsides, just outsides in general. Don't go outside. So that initial conflict has to be, I think, sharp. The primary antagonist is these island inhabitants, whoever they are, specifically not naming anything yet. Then I think there is another faction. It could be anything. It could even be an elemental force. It could be a monstrous force. There's something on the island. There's something that the others fear. There's something that the others fear. There's something that the others fear so much that these others and our party can find themselves in opposition to this other threat together. There's something that will unify them, or that will temporarily align them and ingratiate some of the others to the party, give them another way to look at them and go, oh, these actually are not. We thought the monsters were the people that were shooting arrows at us when we came to the island. In actuality, like this other group, yeah, okay, maybe this is a bit more monstrous, and now we empathize a little bit with this original other group. Just man the whole time. And then becomes clear that these three factions will not coexist. And finally, that path forward. You've got now alliances made on an island. Presumably, you've got the captain now calling things to a head for some original task. Is it going to be what I don't want is the type of decision that feels very surface level, or like there's a clear good choice, right? Like it's like harvesting the sisters, the little sisters in BioShock. Pretty clearly, like saving them was always better than harvesting them. And you even got rewarded more, right, for making that decision. There should be a compelling... I'm okay, especially in a setting like this, I'm okay with the decision at the end of the 6 sessions being fairly video gamey and sort of charting out these kind of big, broad decisions, these points. You know, are you going to side with the locals against your captain? Are you going to side with the captain and screw the locals? Depending on what that third faction is, maybe there's another choice there too, or maybe there's a third option. But it would be great if the decision impacted the party, the island, and any story attached to these characters going forward. Like, they may end up there, you know, with a new captain of the ship. They may end up kind of intermingling them. They may end up wiping up an island off the map. Something happens. Something would happen. Gibson could always do cultists who are enabling something bad but are doing so out of ignorance. Definitely. I think that, like, if we were to spitball who these people are, right? I almost think of those, like, aren't there, what are they called? They're those islands that we know of on Earth, of like, they're basically no-fly zones. Like, you don't go to those because those are they're tribes that have not been touched by modernity, right? And they're extremely hostile. Who even knows what it's like there? But basically, they're isolated peoples. There's also, like, when we talk about like the idea of cultists, like what if the third faction on, or the second faction on the island, they could be zealots from previous crews. They could be seemingly this horrible local monstrous force, but really they're people who have previously invaded the island and are still there and have set up camps and are in constant conflict with the local inhabitants. I kind of like that, actually, because it feels like it's like a twisted mirror version of what the party is doing, or even what their captain and their family is doing by coming here. Any plans to have a lovable NPC as part of the crew and then killing them off to codify the team? No plans yet, but anything's possible. Are they literally called Forbidden Islands? That makes sense. Hey, we trust Google with our lives. think you got to have a treasure hunt. So trying to think about how we've been talking about how it could form, how it could kind of take shape. So an initial life at sea, right? Setting the tone. I like that idea, Gravitol, for sure. Well, like, so part of the going back to the revelations from before, or like the different layers. You know, why will the factions not coexist? What the captain wants, whatever it is, right? We're leaving a lot of things Mad Lib style right now, story-wise. What the captain wants will hurt the local. Let's just say will hurt the locals somehow. Bad fortune. Maybe it's Moana. It's the life energy of the island. I guess I should throw that on inspiration once I'm like straight name dropping. I have a pantheon, but not one that I've like. It's sort of a loose pantheon, and then I've sort of reinterpreted it to each region. Kind of every area, you know, each region of the world has its own like creation story, God story. Like it's all kind of reinterpreted through mirrors and stuff. Tropes, volcanoes, environmental collapse, floods, the island sinks. The island sinks. Yeah. You know, the party successfully hunting down the treasure, but falling through an old dungeon floor into a much more ancient, you know, cistern inside some sort of again, this is very like Uncharted thinking, but like, you know, an original city or something like that shows that what they're taking has this bigger meaning. Hey, what's up, Luke? Whenever you're here is the right time. You know, I've had this. When did we have this? When did we talk about this? There was a game, Stray. Okay, I don't know how many of you guys are here for the Stray playthrough, but Stray is a game that I played a couple months back, where you play as a cat. Ooh, this could be good. This could be good. Okay. In Stray, you play as a cat, and my big disappointment with that game is that it didn't go far enough in what I thought was the most interesting piece. The premise of the game is that you're a cat exploring this future fallen city that's completely inhabited by robots. It's a robot city. Basically, there's this whole backstory that's uncovered about, robots as servants, robots as their own protected class, robots forming their own society, robots basically being all that's left, robots developing their own slums, and all of this from the perspective of a cat. All of it while trying to dig yourself out of what seems like a hole, but is actually this like forgotten city. It's a cool game, but one of the disappointing things is that the game doesn't lean into what I think could have been the most powerful part of that game, which is the communication gap between a cat, even a very smart cat, and all of these robots. I remember talking about it over and over and over again when playing that game, because they just sort of make you accept that this cat can understand what these robots are saying. Now, you could sort of say like, well, this is just the cat can't understand, but I can understand, but we're controlling the cat, or from the perspective of the cat. Clearly the cat understands just what English that these robots are using. And I was like, imagine, especially because there were a couple points of like turmoil, right? And where the cat has to save the robot or vice versa. I was like, imagine if they had kept this way simplified. Imagine if they had kept this communication level very basic, right? And we talked about, I think, during that game of like what it would look like in a game to have very basic emoting from another character, and how that would affect the relationship with that NPC. So what if this was used here? Like, what if the party is saved by, and then sort of forced for a session to work with a character that can communicate in only very basic ways? Maybe they have, their own local language. This particular person they don't know the party's language. Maybe there are some basic emotions that can be expressed and some things that can be said, but that barrier to conversation is gonna, I think it could like, you can't have complex, like if you're thrown into escaping a difficult situation in a dungeon with an NPC that you're supposed to hate. They've attacked you with arrows, like they are the others on this island, but then you're forced to work together and sort of build a rapport in these basic ways. That would be an interesting way to sort of form an inroad with that and empathy for that group. Kind of love that idea, actually. Whatever this outside force deems as other. Manic paranoia on both sides. Yeah, like, yeah, I like that idea. It's almost another way of saying, in terms of the moral challenge, right? If you have option one, you know, do what the captain says, you know, take the treasure and leave, right? Option two, protect the locals, lose your ship, right? Option three is almost destroy the treasure, you know, hope it changes everyone, right? Yeah, construct in about 9 o'clock. I'll jump on for more blueprints. I've actually got a pretty solid plan. I feel like we're hitting the edges of all these mysteries in that game. So we'll see, though. There's always more. Yeah, who knows? Catch you later. Yeah, thanks for hanging out. Like, it's almost, you know, do you help if you're stuck in the middle? It's like Indiana Jones. It's like, do you run to the left side of the rope bridge, to the right side of the rope bridge? I'm gonna cut the rope bridge in the middle, severing this, and now what? It does sort of suggest that, look, it's at the end of the day, it's an adventure game. It's pretty damn helpful to have true enemies. I think that let's just start a page for faction design. One of these factions is going to need to be more bad than the others. I think that that's fair. Captain's crew would be a faction. The local islanders. Maybe it's like the mysterious zealots. Mysterious cultists. Luke, so a formerly uncontacted tribe on one side of the island and a stranded invading force on the other. Perhaps the stranded faction minions are under the impression that if they fight and survive long enough, they can escape, but their leader wants to stay. Yeah, I think that's a piece of it. There's a treasure on the island. The captain is after and sends the party in. It's almost a rite of passage. Could be valuable to, you know, could be valuable. Could power the ship, or something more. The local islanders have reason to be they're suspicious of any outsiders and protect the treasure from because it holds a significance to them. Twisted version of both. And that could be tradition, that could be spiritual. But what if this apparently, like, ooh, this is another inspiration. Anybody ever seen The Village? It's one of the early M. Night Shyamalan movies. I guess if you haven't seen it and want to see it, apologies for this reference because it spoils a little bit of it, but let's just call this the Mysterious Cultists bit of a Scooby-Doo gag. They seem like monsters, but really they're just scaring everybody with costumes. So the cultists, the group on the island that the local islanders are fearful of and fight with, or some sort of magical illusion enhancement. And the mysterious cultists are a previous crew. The golden coconut of density or destiny, or maybe both. I like the idea of the revelation of killing one of these seemingly horrifying monster creatures on the island, only to sort of unmask them, or the illusion drops or something, and then seeing like, well, wait, this is just an old pirate. And seeing that they came from, like, if the party is on they're part of the ship that's like the ninth lady of the sea, and it's like, wait, this person, their insignia, that they're from the sixth lady of the sea, like this is like an earlier crew, and they've stuck here, maybe abandoned here, and or maybe intentionally stayed here because they became obsessed with the treasure. Maybe everybody, maybe every faction Yeah, exactly. Or like yeah, exactly that. Infatuation with the treasure of the island. So effectively, if we go back to the big idea, get out of here, Crane. Get out of here. If all of the groups have some sort of perspective on the treasure. Is this the reason I'm back to this decision is because I feel like everything in this miniseries is heading toward this moment. At the end of the 6 sessions, this is the decision. Which one of these things do we do? Get the player's guard down, and they find another one. This one's real and a lot harder to kill. Yeah, I think it could be that it could even be that there were monsters and that, but they were all killed off somehow, and so now the image of them is used, like an illusion of them is used to keep people from a certain end of the island, let's say. In fact, ooh. That would be fascinating. This is, again, this is my lost inspiration coming back. If they start at sea, first session, end up on the island under attack, fight off the attack, complete a treasure hunt, find the treasure, fall down into an ancient city, an ancient temple, fight their way through that, ally with one of the locals. There's a language barrier, but they're able to help each other out and survive getting out of that place, only to uncover that fortunately I have to go through Forbidden Zone. The Forbidden Zone houses a fairly up-to-date, upkept lighthouse, because, again, going with the ruse that, like, wait, I thought there were monsters in this area, that's why you guys didn't go there, but there's a lighthouse, and it seems like there's a way for ships, or maybe there's going to be a way, maybe somebody's building toward one. Maybe a lighthouse isn't the thing, but there's some sort of modern-ish facility. Sure. Lurk if you'd like. Sessions here, character prologues, life at sea, treasure hunt, underground. Let's just call it an underground Templar city. Language barrier. Surprise, hidden lighthouse, and then the decision. I mean, this would be a really fun. This would be a really fun adventure. I like the shape. I like the way that this is shaping out. I'm only quiet because I'm thinking. Yeah, if the first session can also hint at there being a monster in the deep, a monster in the water, there might be monster inhabitants on this island, that's going to reinforce. And there is actually one, but it's like it's one. It's like it's one, and it's being the image of it. There used to be a bunch, maybe not. Ooh, maybe that's even. Absolutely, it could. Graviton. Are you suggesting that the island is a mimic? Okay, so what would this involve? This would involve you crewmates. This would involve a map of the island, treasure hunt style, giant turtle on the back of a giant turtle. I mean, it could even be where did I put the big decision? The moral decision, siding with the locals. Why need what do you need a ship for if the island itself, if you are sort of simpatico with it, vibing with it, the island itself moves. You don't need a ship. So we would need crewmates, crew members, map of the island, treasure hunt style. Combat. Would it be combat? Would it be combat against some smaller sea life to keep the ship stable? Second session. Puzzle of the treasure map, actually. Give it a treasure. Yeah, no kidding, Jesse. working on a little mini-series campaign idea. And wondering if I can fit everything I have, every idea that I have here into as small a package as I want it to be in. I think it has the threat of cannibals, which might be even better than cannibals. I don't think so, no. What are you... Do you think it does? Oh, that's what you mean. It depends. Well, you say that, but it's not really the case in my world. Like, I've never viewed them that way. I've always thought that was strange. I hand wave most of that. Party works the more goes through a fierce slingshot rocky cliffside fighting the monsters. Nobody knows. No way to know. Nobody wants to know. Could it happen? Could I make all of this work in only 6 sessions? Maybe. Well, that's the... To some extent, the experiment is, you know, can I make a compelling story that's relatively tight? And if it's not 6, if it's 7, if it's not 6, if it's 8, that's still a relative success in my book. If I think that it's compelling enough and I'm trying to tighten it all up, because really it just means that I'm trimming a lot of the fat and making this a bit more episodic than it would be, right? Hopefully still with decisions that matter throughout, but and hopefully not on rails. That's the other thing that I need to push to figure out. I'm definitely gonna, so I'm limiting it to one island, so I will need an island map if they don't follow long spawn cannibals. Exactly. Well, I think so. They start out part of the captain's crew, and their sort of initiation to the family, the crew's loyal, stuck together, blah, blah, blah. Their initiation is to go on some treasure hunt on this island, that everybody does it. Treasure, MacGuffin, something that maybe it fuels the magic ship, maybe it pays their benefactors, who knows, something. MacGuffin treasure. Local islanders, the others, they don't want anything to do with outsiders. They protect the island and its treasure, and it initially are the primary antagonists. And then there's another group of, let's just call them like mysterious cultists. They're sort of initially they present, I think, as monsters. It kind of is a little bit. But these monsters on the island are not actually monsters. They are a previous crew, previous outsiders, let's say, that are using the illusion of this monster to sort of Scooby-Doo style keep the local islanders away, while they basically refine this treasure to try to do something more with it. And there is, well, not a faction, but there is a real island monster. And so the idea is to sort of all of these faction groups, these 4 groups, are sort of reflections of whatever this now, and I probably need to figure out what this treasure is, because I think the captain's crew is after it. The local islanders want to protect it at all costs. These mysterious cultists are looking to refine it and take advantage of it, right? Maybe they're experimenting with it, and this real island monster that used to be a faction of its own, maybe it's it's like the last remaining Bigfoot, is effectively being trapped there by this treasure. Because the big idea is that which group the party sides with, what the party decides to do in relation to this treasure at the end of 6 sessions-ish, six-ish sessions, is basically going to have an impact. It's going to change the nature of the island. It's appreciated, Luke. It's another way to brainstorm, right? I mean, it can physically, literally be anything. It can be shells. Hey, Obra Dinn, right? Cursed shells. Crystals kind of they to some extent, the less we can definitively say about the treasure, the better. It's mysterious and it's a limited. It can be refined to do amazing things if you know what you're doing. Hey, Mitch Clovar, welcome to the stream. The treasure should smell nice. A visible fridge-sized object of almighty powers. Yeah, maybe I can use inspiration from Control, like how objects of power were treated and documented and discussed and dissected. Maybe it's maybe there are a lens made purely by the sand of the coast imbued with magic. I like that. So what if the treasure of the island it glows a particular color? It has like a sheen to it. It has a shine to it, and it's all sorts of different things: totems, weapons, shells, gold, and it's all over the place there. But it's shining only because it spent a significant amount of time near the core of the island. So something about this island in particular, whether it's access to some, it could be anything, right? It's probably more interesting that it's not known. But basically, the closer you get to the center of the heart of this island, these things are becoming effectively enchanted, enhanced, like they become magical. And so that's what people want. That keeps it very flexible. From the captain's perspective, the captain's perspective is this is it's basically an easy take. I don't like that. A hue. So maybe it can be, maybe the treasure can be so maybe the lie of the ship is that the captain and the crew they work so well together, they're like family. That's what the party starts out with. Complete trust, split things down the middle, and the fact that they have that camaraderie is why they are, one of the fastest ships. They can stay out at sea the longest. They blah, 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 blah. Well, it turns out that their ship is effectively powered by like refining, melting these pieces down. Like, yeah, they probably use some of it, sell it for treasure, but also like a single statue that is enchanted with whatever's on this island thrown into the furnace of the ship they're able to, they're able to last, weather the storms, weather the sea. And so to the captain, it's like, basically, if we're gonna, this is what we need to persist as a crew. Like, we come back here every few years, maybe more often than that, grab a handful of treasure and power the ship. And in that sense, maybe it's even, ooh, yeah, this is good. I like this. This is the idea I like. The treasure are these maybe glowing, maybe even like prismatic, like the every single color shines off of them in some sort of otherworldly way, where it's like we don't even understand what this material is. But maybe the parties, maybe everyone has seen or heard of items like this, on the mainland, museums worn by royalty, crown, even, like, it's like, oh, it's one of those, like that gives another hook, like everybody's maybe heard of these. That gives something that could be used in their character prologues. Prismatic. Yeah, I love the idea that it's completely not definitively explained. All we know is that this island is, and I think that the locals would know. So if we go back to factions, right, the captain's crew, the captain, ironically, doesn't know exactly how his ship functions. It's special. It's strong. It's special, and it needs prismatic treasure added to its furnace to keep going. The local islanders, they don't care for the treasure, but they protect it from outsiders because they understand the treasure's power comes from the heart of the island. No, I've not read that, Luke. Even the locals, though, couldn't explain to you in truly physical material terms what the heart of the island, what the nature of it is. They just know that it's special and that they protect it. That's right, Mitch. The mysterious cultists, here's what I was wanting to add. The same the engineers who designed the captain's ship deserted and devoted their lives to understanding the prismatic, the power, the potential of the prismatic energy of the island. Sci-fi, but they're living sails on the ships, like lots of horrific sea creatures. Yeah, like I'm definitely open to it's effectively a ship, but there's something extra about it, right? Like maybe they're just like, I don't know, you ever notice like you can always pick our ship out because the sails are always a little bit shiny. Well, that's why. So the engineers who designed the captain's ship, maybe just the furnace, maybe the refinement process, they deserted. And they've devoted their lives since to understanding the potential of the prismatic energy of the island. So they have established and built, maybe it's not... Sorry, that's the kid button. I have a kid button and a no kid button. Twisted version of they've devoted their lives to understanding the potential of the prismatic energy of the island. Yes, Crane. Hey, buddy, come here. Ugh. Okay, I think I like all of this a lot. The treasure makes sense. Look back on the outline. So for a session 0, I can focus on who I can understand, all the obvious stuff, but also like what kind of characters everybody's bringing to the table, how the characters are related, like why are they a group, right? Why are they a crew within the crew? I like to put that on players because I don't want to have to try to force that. They get to decide that, then they believe in it, and that'll help shape the next bit. I'll do a test. I like to set up a test combat for session 0 just so people get to like try out their characters. So I'll probably devise some sort of maybe some sort of an island, something that's not at all what is going to be in this little mini series, just a totally different thing. To come up with that. Come up with something safe there. Maybe honestly we might dig into this more tomorrow. I'm gonna have to draw an island map, which I'm actually really excited about. The island map needs to be designed with the treasure hunt in mind, as well as the structure of this miniseries, like where they come onto shore, where all the inhabitants are, the path that they take. All of these things have to be considered, and it'd be really fun. Be really fun to make the map in such a way that it could be updated. You know, The Crane will just take over the stream if I'm not careful. He'll just come up here and be like, "It's fine, just pet me forever." Okay, I feel good about this. This is exciting. So, I have enough that I'll be confident. I don't have a name yet. We'll have to come up with a name for the island. We might have to have some time spent designing the island. Cat-shaped for sure. Never done a true drawing stream before. That might Might be fun, might be painful. Because I've hand drawn my world here. I'm not great at it, but it does. If you put in time, you can make something interesting and detailed. It'd be kind of fun to make the map, and then like I really like that thing that the video games will do where the map gets updated each session to sort of track progress and things like that. So I might, if I make a version of the map and then scan it and print it, because I don't want to have to keep redrawing it. that would be too much. But yeah, next I think there's enough here to start actually identifying key landmarks and descriptions and stats and stuff. For this to be even close to 6 sessions, I can already see this could stretch beyond 6. Hopefully not much. Like I do think it'll be best kept to just like a couple levels of progression. I think it'll be really fun. I think there won't be much fat there. There'll be a lot of activity. That's right, Luke. You got it. Okay. Well, dinner time. So I'm going to break there for now. I'll be back in a couple of hours. We're going to play some more Blueprints tonight, right around 9 o'clock. And then I think there's a good chance I'll be digging back into some of this tomorrow, maybe around 3 o'clock again. So I'll be thinking about it for sure. Thanks for all your ideas, guys. Especially the Velvet Volcano, the Frosted Forest, the Deserted Island. Guys, this is gold. This is gold. It so fits with my world. It's gonna plug in perfectly. All right. Thanks again, guys. If you have not and would like to join, I have a pretty cool Discord. There's a lot of cool people in it. Obviously, I'm biased, but I think it's just like the best place to talk about D&D and develop our ideas together. And I'll be on later, like I said. We'll play more Blueprints tonight, and I'll be back on tomorrow with more campaign prep of the yet to be named campaign. I'm Eastern time zone, so it's 6:30 p.m. right now. I'm not sure why the Discord link is taking so long to come up, but I trust that it will show up in chat. I believe it to be true. Is it the Prismatic Island? Prismatic Isle? It's not a bad name. Hey, thanks, Mitch. Here, I don't know why it's not. Anyway, that's the Discord invite. Not sure why Nightbot's being so slow. That's okay. Yeah. Anyway, that'll do it. Thanks a lot, guys, and we'll hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.